Hi there, welcome back to Daily Sales Tips with Chin. We last left off talking about the guide framework, which you can use to move a prospect all the way to a close. Quick refresher: guide stands for greet, understand, inform, discuss, and enrich. So today we're going to focus on the understanding phase. Now you're done with the small talk, you're done with the greeting, you already set up the initial connection or bond with your customer. You want to start probing. This is important because probing and understanding the customer allows you to first off understand their needs, their current situation, and where they're at, and also what other alternatives they're considering. It will help you, number one, know what solution to pitch to them. Number two, how to best position the solution. And then number three, what else you can upsell or cross-sell to them. So in the probing phase, what makes a good probing question? Tip number one, ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are questions that don't end in a single answer or a yes or no. It basically sounds like, instead of saying, do you do X, which is close-ended, just gives you a yes or no, doesn't give you a lot of information. You might say something like, tell me about when was the last time you did X, or how do you do X, or why do you do X, right? Gives you a lot richer information. So all you have to do is add who, what, where, when, or why in front of your question to make it open-ended. Tip number two, as you're probing, you want to spend most of your time listening to the customer. So I'd say about 80% of your time listening and only about 20% of your time speaking. And anytime you speak, you'll want to open your mouth just to either acknowledge what they're saying or ask another question. So by doing so, it prevents you from making statements, jumping ahead, and actually presenting your solution. So I mentioned acknowledgement. This moves us to tip number three. Acknowledgement is important because if you just ask question after question, here's what it's going to sound like. You might say, tell me about when you do this. How do you do this? Why do you do this? It becomes a bit interrogative. So try to avoid that and just simply, paraphrase what they said back to them. So you might say, how do you do this? Oh, that's interesting. You mentioned you did this. Can you elaborate on that? Right? So just simply repeat what they say back to them. Tip number four, not a lot of people do this nowadays, but even if you have great memory, just simply tell the customer, hey, is it okay if I take notes while we speak? It really shows them that you care and that you're really actively listening. And when you get to pitching your solution, it allows you to tie those features or the value of your product back to their needs. You can say, hey, look, you mentioned you needed this. This is why I think our solution is going to be helpful for you, right? So all you have to do is just take notes. It really helps. Last tip, tip number five is, if possible, you want to try to quantify value. What do I mean by this? It's important to quantify value because number one, it helps you benchmark before and after. And number two, because you're able to show them the difference from before and after, they can more readily realize the value of your solution. So one strategy to quantify value is to ask what we call three deep questioning strategy. So I'll give you an example. So the sales rep might say something like, hey, you're having delivery issues with your current supplier. How does that translate to your business? And then the prospect might say, oh, it's delaying our ability to deliver products on time. And then you might ask another question. You might say, oh, what impact does that have on your efficiencies and bottom line? And then they might say, oh, we currently spend a lot of time and money dealing with returns and tracking down deliveries, and it decreases our profit margin. So you might ask another question. I might say, oh, what would that mean to you if you were able to guarantee quality products on time? And the customer might say, oh, if we were able to do that, we would probably save about $5,000 a year because that's how much we spent last year just dealing with issues related to returns. So just by digging down to that, if you can get a quantifiable value, like an actual dollar amount or hours saved, that will really help you because number one, when you pitch your solution, you can say, hey, we think we can cut that down by half, or we can reduce that by 20%, whatever it is, right? And then number two, if you're able to actually achieve what you promise, then your customer will become a loyal customer because they really see the value and they will more readily refer other customers to you. So think about how you can quantify whatever value you're doing. It's usually time that you're saving them, money that you're saving them, or additional income that you're helping them make, right? So as a takeaway from this, I want you to start thinking about a list of questions that you can use. So come up with a list of 10 questions that will help you uncover your customer's needs. These questions are ideally questions that will help you understand which of your multiple solutions to present, or again, how to position your solution. And number three, what else you can upsell or cross-sell down the road. So these questions, you might not use all of them, but it's just handy to have some of them in your back pocket so that when you do get to the stage, you can just throw one of the questions at them. Another thing is the questions don't necessarily have to be in direct relation to your product. So I'll give you an example. So let's say if you're selling cell phones and you want to highlight a feature of the camera, you might not directly just say, hey, tell me about how you use your phones to take pictures. but you might say, oh, do you have kids? Do you have a family? And the reason why that's relevant, because if someone has kids, you can highlight one of the features in the camera phone, which is motion photos. So you can use this motion photo feature. It allows you to take a picture, and then if someone is moving in a photo, it can skip back a few frames, and you can get that right picture where everyone's smiling, no one's blinking, that kind of stuff, right? So think about what are useful questions, and I hope this video has been helpful. If you enjoy videos like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can search me up, just search my name, Chin Hing Chang. I will post the link to the channel in the comment below. And again, if you have any questions, just feel free to comment down below. So if you know anyone who benefits from this, again, feel free to share the video out as well.